Thinks American men suck.
Let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. To the women listening, we have every right to demand that the men in our lives do.
Greg Gutfeld didn't just critique Michelle Obama. He dismantled the meticulously crafted image with a smirk, blending sharp wit with pinpoint accuracy. He laid bare the contrast between her polished public persona and the strategic maneuvering happening behind the scenes. This wasn't mere commentary. It was a methodical deconstruction of her untouchable image. By the end, even her staunchest supporters seemed unsettled, questioning whether the Queen of Poise had lost her hold on authenticity.
To use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment.
What's that pitter-patter sound I'm hearing in the background? It's the footsteps of Barack running to vote for Trump. So, Kat, they know that they're having a hard time with men.
Right.
Doesn't seem like this is the right strategy.
No.
She basically says that
Greg Gutfeld didn't just enter the studio that night. He made an entrance, exuding confidence with every step. The kind that screams, "I'm about to cause some PR nightmares." The focus of the night, Michelle Obama, former First Lady, media mogul, podcast host, and queen of carefully curated ambiguity. With a gleam in his eye, Gutfeld attacked the topic with the energy of a caffeine-fueled commentator out for retribution. "Let's talk about Michelle," he began, twirling his pen like a sword.
even if they run Michelle. According to a new poll, Michelle Obama isn't as strong a Democratic candidate against former President Donald Trump as many Dems would have you believe. In a hypothetical matchup, my favorite kind, Trump wins with 47% of the vote compared to Michelle Obama's 44%. I guess some of the kids whose school lunches she ruined are finally old enough to vote.
If you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe. The stage was set, and Gutfeld wasted no time. He skewered her memoir, becoming a billionaire, for sharing how hard it is to live in a mansion while still smiling at people. Then the deeper cut. "Have you noticed the pattern?" he asked. "Every interview is a performance in selective victimhood. Michelle is always overcoming, always rising, which is impressive, considering she's been at the top for over a decade." Laughter rippled through the audience, underscoring the sharp edge of his observations.
Continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men.
"Don't get me wrong," Gutfeld said, feigning innocence with a mischievous grin. "She's intelligent, charismatic, and undeniably accomplished. But let's not kid ourselves. She's not an underdog fighting her way up. She's not Rocky Balboa. She's a corporate entity with endorsements." Cue a montage of her speaking engagements, branded merchandise, and podcast segments filmed in luxurious kitchens that rival department stores. Gutfeld delivered his punchline. "Michelle Obama isn't empowering you. She's marketing to you. It's capitalism dressed up as inspiration." Then came the hammer. "She says she doesn't want to run for president. Maybe she doesn't. But those speeches, they sound like campaign teasers, just in case America decides it wants its rhetoric vague and soaring again."
No, but her analysis seems a symptom of a greater problem that contributed to her party's loss. It goes back to seeing the group and not the person. I call it IPB, identity politics blindness. They lost not because Hillary was a woman. They lost because all they saw was a woman. Meanwhile, Trump took nothing for granted. Fact is, many voters would have happily voted for a woman, just not that one. Because unlike Trump, she didn't speak to their concerns. She only spoke of her entitlement. She just assumed that she had the vote. And just assuming a woman must vote for a woman seems pretty insulting from a man. Humans are more complex, surprising, and interesting than liberals.
Crowd erupted as Gutfeld imitated her tone, arms outstretched and voice dripping with sweetness. "We need to rise above. We need to come together. We need hope. And we need to buy my deluxe edition book, available now at Target." He shifted focus to her frequent use of the martyr card, mocking her claims about the challenges of White House life. She said she had to be perfect, couldn't be too loud, too black, like every first lady who decorated Christmas trees and hosted dinners. Pausing dramatically, he added, except none of the others landed a post-WH podcast co-produced with Barack Obama, essentially reviewing themselves with 5 stars. Gutfeld pressed on. She speaks of imposter syndrome while being one of the most celebrated figures alive. If she's an imposter, what hope do the rest of us have? She's everywhere, on my cereal box, in my playlist, and somehow in my dreams.
Obama has openly admitted that she and Barack sleep in separate bedrooms. Here's how it works. She sleeps downstairs, and he likes men.
Michelle Obama is the algorithm. Gutfeld leaned back, deadpan. We used to say Big Brother is watching, now Big Michelle is podcasting. Just when it seemed he was wrapping up, he shifted gears for the grand finale. Her real power isn't in her charm, it's her untouchability. Criticize her, and suddenly you're labeled a sexist, a racist, or worse. Yet if she sells you cliches wrapped in a $90 candle and a motivational playlist, that's leadership. The audience was half stunned, half amused, not used to hearing someone dissect Michelle Obama with such precision and energy. It's all curated, he continued. It's politics repackaged as lifestyle branding. He sipped from his cup, adding dryly, at this point, the only thing more polished than her PR team is her arms. As the laughter subsided, Gutfeld delivered the line that broke the internet. She didn't become anything. She became a franchise.
The latest installment of What Happened in an Election That Occurred a year and a half ago. Michelle Obama was asked how Trump won, and she laid the blame on Hillary. Just kidding, she blamed sexism from women against women.
In light of this last election, I'm concerned about us as women and how we think. If we're not comfortable with the notion that a woman could be our president compared to what? You know, we have to have that conversation with ourselves.
The room still buzzing. Gutfeld added, the product? Self-importance, served with a side of kale. Laughter erupted, but then his tone shifted, serious, but not too serious. The real issue, he said, isn't Michelle herself. It's how we keep falling for the same trick. Glossy speeches, emotional buzzwords, and vague promises to empower everyone. Meanwhile, the machine keeps churning, unchanged. This wasn't just about Michelle Obama. It was a critique of the entire political celebrity complex. He questioned why achievements had to be coated in layers of media polish. Why do we confuse visibility with authenticity? Why applaud relatability when a hard day for her is choosing between a TED Talk or a Vogue cover? Then, like a marksman, he landed his punchline.
Been busy working on a new podcast, and so far, it's been a flop. The first 2 episodes have been up all day and only gotten a few thousand views on YouTube. Half of them are probably primetime producers. But still, Michelle's spilling the family secrets, like how Barry gets on her nerves. Listen.
Barack, he had to adjust to what on time was.
Because he was on that island time.
Well, but, I've got this husband who's like, when it's time to leave, it's 3 o'clock, he's getting up and going to the bathroom. And I was like, dude, like 3 o'clock departure means you've done all that, It's like, don't start looking for your glasses,
He's running a marketing campaign, Gutfeld declared. And we're the ones buying it, along with her athlete as your line. Mic drop. But this wasn't just destruction, it was disruption. Gutfeld didn't just critique Michelle Obama. He peeled back the shiny veneer that envelopes all political figures turned lifestyle icons. It's not about left or right, he explained. It's about real versus fake. With an unerring instinct for uncovering pretense, Gutfeld wasn't targeting Michelle as a person, but the fog of marketing that surrounds her. Maybe, he suggested, the most relatable woman in America is just another well-crafted illusion designed to inspire, distract, and pacify. Whether you agreed or not, one thing was clear. Greg Gutfeld wasn't pulling punches. Just as the laughter began to fade, he leaned forward for the twist.
Talk to you about Michelle Obama's ongoing midlife meltdown, like her, as you put it, her Stegosaurus hairdos. The utterance the other day, she says she's transitioning. I mean, I think we both know what she's trying to do by using that word.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you make of all of this? Like, what's going on in that psyche?
I think that that transitioning line was meant to get attention because her podcast is failing. No one wants to watch it, and she's not used to that. You know, she's used to being the center of attention. Everyone's interested in me. I don't have to try hard. And so now
Let's talk about the kids, he said, grinning. Because every franchise needs a sequel. He pointed to Michelle's initiatives, youth programs, college outreach, but posed a sharp question. When was the last time any of these programs delivered measurable results? We don't see outcomes. We see merchandise. The camera panned to a smirking panelist as the audience braced for impact. Here's the part no one wants to say, he continued. Most of her legacy is vibes, emotional resonance, curated playlists, and gospel-backed speeches. Sure, it feels good, but so does a warm bath, and that doesn't fix the pipes. Gutfeld wasn't just critiquing her messaging. He was calling out its lack of substance. Her TED Talks, he added, motivational Mad Libs. You are powerful, you are enough, you are seen. Great. Now say that to a small business owner drowning in regulations.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it. When she cleans it.
Or to the parent working double shifts who doesn't have time to reflect on their power because they're too busy driving for Uber after their night job, he added, his tone cutting deeper. This wasn't just about Michelle, he clarified. It's about the culture she's helped create. A world where sincerity is swapped for slogans, and making a difference is as simple as changing your profile picture. Fired up but not angry, Gutfeld articulated what many were likely thinking but unwilling to say. You can't claim to speak for the voiceless when you're doing it from a $12,000 sofa under a halo light with your chef in the next room. The crowd hushed as he made his final comparison. Michelle Obama is Apple politics, sleek, expensive, and somehow always immune to criticism. The metaphor was both absurd and brilliant. She sells empowerment the way Starbucks sells identity, he concluded. Personalized, pleasant, and wildly overpriced.
Megyn Kelly in the United States. Now, why is Michelle Obama whinging? She seems to always be whinging. Why are things so hard for her right now?
I know. I mean, because when you're thinking of victims of this awful world, you think of Michelle Obama and how terrible we've all been to her. This woman is a one-woman destitution derby. Every time we check in on her at her podcast, she is feeling sorry for herself. She is criticizing Barack Obama or this country. She never has a positive word to say about anything. And the latest example was when she went on this other guy's podcast, Jay Shetty. She goes and sits down with him, and he asks her, what are you afraid of? And she starts off by saying, well, my fears aren't for me. You know, I think about the streets. My fears aren't for me.
Well, in this current climate for me, it's, you know.
Someone in the crowd burst into laughter, an audible snort cutting through the room. Gutfeld acknowledged them with a slight nod, like a maestro pleased with the symphony he was conducting. Then came his closing argument, the moment that felt inevitable but still hit like a thunderclap. She doesn't need to run for office, he said, his voice calm and deliberate. Why? Because she already governs something far more powerful than policy, perception. She's the empress of optics, and when you control how people feel more than what they think, you don't need a ballot. You wield something stronger, unquestioned influence. This wasn't just a roast anymore, it had become a revelation. Gutfeld leaned back, folding his hands. Michelle's real superpower isn't her intellect. What she is your brand manager. And here's the kicker. You're not the client, you're the product. For a moment, there was silence, then a burst of uproarious laughter and applause. In that single statement, Gutfeld achieved what few dared to try. He stripped away the shine, the glamour, and the carefully crafted mystique surrounding America's polished icon, exposing the calculated mechanics behind it. Not out of malice, not from partisanship, but because someone had to pull back the curtain. And Greg Gutfeld didn't just pull it back, he set it ablaze.